Hello everyone, so I'm back with another tutorial, this time to show you how to make this cute little snowman. So I think it's the perfect project for your last minute gifts, for your loved ones, so it's a no-sew. So there's no sewing required for this pattern and it's really easy and quick to make, so I hope you enjoy it. Make sure to check the description down below to find more details like the yarn I used for this tutorial, my social medias and more, so just make sure to check this out. And just a quick tip here, if ever in the video tutorial I'm going too fast or too slow for you, you can always change the speed of the video in the settings and then under playback speed. Here's a little disclaimer for you also before we start. So this is not a crochet class, so if you do not know how to crochet, I suggest you to learn how to hold the crochet hook and hold the yarn, for example, and then come back to that tutorial. So let's start with the materials that you're gonna need for that tutorial. Okay, so let's get started. You're gonna need your 6.5mm crochet hook and your blanket yarn. And we're gonna start by making a slip knot. So I'm just wrapping, so I'm holding the yarn tail with one hand. I'm wrapping it around 2 fingers, turning my hand so I can see my nails, going underneath the first strand, grabbing the second one and pulling up, removing my fingers and pulling on both yarn tails here to make the slip knot. So don't make it too tight, and you can pull on the yarn tail to tighten the loop on your hook. And now we're gonna chain 2, so that's 1 chain. So to chain, it's simply to wrap the yarn around the crochet hook. So this is called a yarn over. So I'm yarning the yarn over my hook and I'm pulling through. So now I have my 2 chains, 1, 2. And I'm gonna make 8 single crochet stitches into the second chain from the hook. So this is my first one, and I'm going into the second chain from the hook right here, and I'm gonna crochet 8 single crochet stitches. So I'm inserting my hook, and for this pattern I'm gonna use the yarn under technique. So the first step will be to yarn under, so the yarn goes underneath the hook, and I'm pulling through the chain. So I have 2 loops on my hook, and then I'm yarning over, so the yarn is over the hook, and then pulling through both loops. So this is 1 single crochet stitch using the yarn under technique. And then again I'm going into the same chain, yarning under, pulling through, yarning over, pulling through. Now I have 2 and I'm gonna make 6 more. I'm at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it looks like this, and I'm gonna close the opening by pulling on my yarn tail. You want to go gently because you don't want to break the yarn, and with blanket yarn it often happens, so just want to make sure that you're going gently. And it should look like this. So this is the top of the head. And you want to make sure that your yarn tail will be inside the head. So I'm just leaving it at the bottom here. And now I'm going to find my first single crochet stitch of the next round. So I'm just going to reverse count. So I'm counting from the last stitch, going to the first to make sure that I'm going into the right one. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So this is the stitch I want to work in, and I'm gonna make an increase in that stitch. So an increase is 2 single crochet stitch into the same stitch. So I'm gonna insert my hook like so underneath both loops of the stitch, yarning under, pulling through, yarning over, pulling through. So this is the first stitch of my second round. So I'm going to place a stitch marker here like this. And now I'm going to complete this increase. I'm going back into the same stitch to make another single crochet stitch. So this is 1 increase into the first stitch, and I want to do that around, so I should have a total of 16 stitches in the end. So we started with 8 stitches and we're going to increase in every stitch to have a total of 16. So I'm making another increase here, so I should have 4 stitches, and you always count from where the stitch marker is. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to do that around, and we're going to meet at the end of round 2 with 16 stitches around. Okay, so I'm completing my last single crochet stitch of round 2. So it looks like this, and I have 16 stitches around. Now for rounds 3 to 5, you're going to keep the same amount of stitches at the end of the row. So we're not going to increase, we're just single crochet stitching into each of the stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way around to have a total of 16 stitches still. And this is going to be for 3 rounds in total. So I removed my stitch marker, I made my first single crochet stitch there, I'm placing it back to start round 3. So I'm going to do this round with you, making my 16 single crochet stitches. So that's 1, 2, and if you're having a hard time finding your stitches with that yarn, you can just feel it. You should kind of be able to feel little holes to find where to insert your hook into the next. So just take your time and make sure that you're not skipping any stitches and not going back into the same stitch. So I'm at 2. This is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. So this was round 3. So you see that the head is starting to curl kind of towards me. So I just want to flip it the other way. So I'm looking at the right side of the stitches, just like so. And my yarn tail from the slip knot is inside the head. So you're going to do 2 more rounds like this one. So you can just go back if you want to see it again. So I'm going to do rounds 4 and 5 on my own, and then we're going to meet at the end of round 5. Okay, so I'm at the end of round 5, and my head looks like this. So I have my yarn tail tucked inside the head, just like this. Okay, and now I'm going to show you how to place the eyes. So I'm using 12mm safety eyes with a little silver glitter right here. And I'm going to place my first eye between rounds 4 and 5. So I'm just going to insert it between 2 stitches, like so. And you want to leave the where the stitch marker is at the back, so that's going to be the back of the head. And then I'm going to grab my other eye, and I'm going to count 3 stitches or 3 holes next to the eye to place the second one. So this is 1 space between the stitches, so that's 1, 2, and 3. And I'm going to insert my second eye here, just like this. And now I'm going to place the washer inside. So I'm just using these kinds of washers, and I'm just pushing it so it's secured. And you want to make sure that you like the position of your eyes, because then you can't remove them. So this is 1, and I'm going to place a second one right here, like this. Okay, and now we have our little eyes. Now for the next part, I'm gonna be embroidering the cheeks and the little eyebrows. If you don't want to do this step, you can just skip to round 6. So we're gonna start with the cheeks. You're gonna need your pink yarn and your sewing needle. And I'm gonna cut a small amount of yarn, just like this. I would say that it's about a little bit more than 30 centimeters long. And I'm just gonna thread the needle now. Okay, and to embroider the first cheek, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna insert my needle from the inside of the head going out, and I'm gonna go as close as possible to the eye. like so. I'm gonna pull the needle through, and I want to leave a little bit of yarn inside the head because we're gonna make a knot. And then I'm gonna skip a stitch, and I'm gonna go into the next little hole between two stitches, and then I'm gonna push my needle again into the same starting stitch. So once again, I went out here. I'm gonna go one stitch further, going inside and then out from the same stitch. And then I'm gonna pull through. And I'm gonna repeat that 2 more times just to have a bigger cheek. So that's 2. You could stop here, and I'm gonna make 1 more. And for the last one, I'm just gonna go back into the inside of the head where I'm gonna cut my yarn. Okay, so my little cheek looks like this. And now I'm gonna cut the yarn, and I'm gonna make 2 knots. And now I'm gonna speed up the video. I'm gonna repeat the same steps for the other cheek. So I'm just going as close as possible to the eye. And I'm gonna speed up the video now. Okay, so now I have my 2 cheeks looking like this, and I'm gonna embroider the eyebrows now, and I'm gonna use black yarn. So once again, I'm gonna cut a small amount of yarn. I'm gonna thread my needle, and now for the eyebrows, I want to find a stitch that is centered with the eye, and that is a stitch on round 3. So this is round 1, 2, and 3. So right in this round. And for the first point of the eyebrow, like I said, I want it to be centered with the eye, and I want it to be in the middle of that round 3. So kind of like this, and you want to make sure that you're not going between 2 stitches, because otherwise your eyebrows won't show as much. So I'm just really going through a stitch of round 3, pulling through, and once again you want to leave a little yarn tail inside the head. So I want to go 1 round lower, and I want to insert my needle once again kind of into the stitch like this. And we have a little eyebrow. Now I'm going to make 2 knots. I'm going to cut the yarn, and I'm going to repeat the same thing for the second eyebrow. Okay, and now for the second eyebrow, I'm going to go once again through a stitch of round 3 and then down. All good. I'm gonna speed up the video, and I'm gonna make my 2 knots. Okay, here we go. We're ready to start round 6. So I'm gonna use my crochet hook again. And now we're gonna work decreases. So I'm gonna show you the invisible decrease technique. And we're gonna have to make 8 invisible decreases for this round. So I'm removing my stitch marker. And to make an invisible decrease, you're only going to use the front loop. So this is the loop of the stitch that is the closest to you. So whenever you insert your hook into a stitch, you usually use the V shape or the 2 loops. I know it's hard to see with this yarn, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert my hook, and then I'm going to pull it out between the loops. So I have only the front loop on my hook, and then I'm going to go and grab the front loop of the next stitch like so. So I have my working loop here, and I have my 2 front loops. I'm gonna yarn under, pull through the front loops, so I have 2 loops on my hook, and then yarn over and pull through both loops. So we've made a decrease. We've used 2 stitches to create just 1. And then I'm gonna place my stitch marker, and I'm gonna make 7 more invisible decreases to have a total of 8. So I'm going to make another one here. So going into the front loop of the next stitch and then into the front loop of the next stitch, yarning under, pulling through, yarning over, pulling through. So this is 2 decreases, and I'm going to make 6 more. So this is the end of round 6, and it looks like this. And now we're going to start the body with round 7. So I'm going to remove my stitch marker, and I'm going to start by making an increase into the next stitch. So my next stitch is here. I'm going to make 2 single crochet stitches into the same stitch. So I just made my increase, so I know I have 2 stitches. So I'm going to place my stitch marker into the first stitch of the round, and I'm going to do that around. So I'm going to make a total of 16 stitches, which is 8 increases. So you just keep going by making 2 single crochet stitches into the same stitch. And I'm going to meet you at the end of round 7 with 16 stitches. Okay, so I'm at the end of round 7 and I have 16 stitches around, and I'm just going to stop here to stuff the head a little. So I'm using my polyester stuffing, and I'm just placing it inside the head. And I want to make sure that the head will be round, so just make sure that you place stuffing everywhere, and then you can shape the head with your hands as well. So make sure that you look at it from every angle, and you want to make sure that it's round. Okay, now we're going to do round 8. So I'm going to use my crochet hook again, and I'm going to remove my stitch marker. And for round 8, we're going to start with a single crochet stitch, so regular single crochet stitch into the first stitch of the round. I'm going to place my stitch marker, and then into the next stitch we're going to do an increase. So I'm going to make 2 single crochet stitches into the next stitch. So that's 1 and 2. And then we're going to repeat this around, so making 1 regular single crochet and then 1 increase. So 1 single crochet, 1 increase, and remember that an increase is making 2 single crochet stitches into the same stitch, and then 1 single crochet, 1 increase. Okay, so you're going to repeat that around to have a total of 24 stitches at the end of round 8, and you should also finish your round with an increase. So we're going to meet there. I'm now at the end of round 8 and I have 24 stitches around, and it looks like this. And now for rounds 9 to 11, you're going to keep the same amount of stitches. So just like the head, you're just going to make 1 single crochet stitches in each stitch around to keep the same amount of stitches. And you're going to do that for 3 rounds. So for rounds 9, 10, and 11. And we're going to meet at the end of round 11 with your 24 stitches. I'm at the end of round 11 and my snowman looks like this now. And now we're going to do round 12 together. So I'm going to remove my stitch marker and start with a single crochet stitch. I'm going to place my stitch marker back. And now we're going to do a decrease into using the next 2 stitches. So remember, we're using only the front loops for the decreases, like this. And we're going to repeat that around. So 1 single crochet stitch, 1 decrease. So 1 single crochet stitch, 1 decrease. I'm going to do it one more time with you. 1 single crochet stitch, 1 decrease. So you're going to repeat this around, and we're going to meet at the end of round 12 with 16 stitches, and you should end up with a decrease. So my round 12 is completed and my snowman looks like this, and I'm going to add a stuffing to the body now. I'm going to speed this up just so it's faster for you, so you can stuff your snowman as well. Okay, and now we're gonna do the last round of the snowman. And this is going to be to make 8 invisible decreases. So decreasing around. So I'm making my first decrease, placing my stitch marker. So remember that we had 16 stitches at the end of round 12, and now for round 13 we're going to have a total of 8 stitches around because we're decreasing around. So I'm going to make my next decrease there. So I'm at 2, and I'm going to repeat this around, like I said, to have a total of 8 stitches and meet you there. Now at the end of the last round, so round 13, and my snowman looks like this. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna remove the stitch marker. I'm gonna make a slip stitch into the next stitch. So to make a slip stitch, it's simply to insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn under, pull through the stitch, and pull through the working loop like this. And I'm gonna leave a small yarn tail just because I'm gonna close the opening with it. So I'm gonna cut it like this. So this should be enough. I would say about 15 centimeters, and I'm pulling through. Okay, and now I'm gonna finish stuffing my snowman because it's missing a little bit of stuffing around the body. Okay, now I'm ready to close the hole at the bottom. So to do that, I'm going to use my crochet hook just because it's easier than to try and put that yarn tail into a small yarn needle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and insert my hook into the front loops of the next stitches. So I'm going to go from the inside of the body going out, grabbing only the front loop. So remember, it's the one closer to you, like this. I'm going to grab the yarn and pull through the front loop. And then I'm gonna go into the next stitch and repeat the same thing. So I use this front loop, so I'm gonna go into the next. Grab the yarn tail, pull through. So that's 2. And you wanna do that around, and remember that we had 8 stitches. So that's 1 more. So just do that around. Okay, and now I'm gonna pull on my yarn tail, so I'm holding the last stitch here, and I'm pulling on my yarn tail to close the opening, like so. And now I want to hide that yarn tail, so I'm gonna once again use my crochet hook. So I'm gonna insert it between 2 stitches of the body, and I'm gonna go at the bottom of the body, grab the yarn tail and pull through. Like this. And I'm gonna do this 1 more time, so going into a stitch of the body, grabbing the yarn tail and pull it out. And now I'm gonna cut the yarn. Ta-da! You have your little snowman. So now we're gonna work on the nose. If you want to leave it like this, you don't need to do a nose, but if you want to make one, just keep watching. Okay, now for the nose, you're going to need your 4mm crochet hook and a little bit of orange yarn, like this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to insert my hook. So you see the 2 stitches here in the middle of the eyes. So I have 1 strand of yarn here and here. So I'm gonna go and insert my hook into underneath these 2 strands of yarn, like so. I'm gonna grab my orange yarn. I'm gonna place it on my crochet hook and pull through, like this. Now I'm gonna chain 4. So remember, you're gonna yarn over. So the yarn is over the hook, and then pull through. So that's 1 chain, and I want to do 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to tighten that little first chain here by pulling on the yarn tail, like this. And now you're going to work into the second stitch, second chain from the hook. So the first chain is here, so I'm going to go into the second, and I'm going to do a slip stitch in this stitch. So insert your hook, yarn over, pull through the chain and through the working loop. And then into the next chain, I'm gonna work a single crochet stitch, like so. And then in the last chain, I'm gonna work a half double crochet stitch. So to make a half double crochet stitch, you're gonna yarn over, you're gonna insert your hook into the next chain, you're gonna yarn under, pull through the chain, so you have 3 loops on your hook. You're gonna yarn over and pull through all loops on the hook, like this. And now to complete the nose, you're gonna insert your crochet hook into the same 2 strands of yarn, of blanket yarn that you started with. And you're gonna yarn over, pull through the blanket yarn and through the working loop on your hook, like this, okay? I'm gonna pull through like this, place the nose. Okay, so it looks like this, and now we're gonna hide the yarn tails. So I'm gonna use my yarn needle for this, starting with the first yarn tail, and I'm just gonna go as close as possible to the little line that you see here, and then I'm gonna bring it out from at the back of the head, like this. And once again, and then same for the other yarn tail. I'm gonna go at the bottom right here, because this is the bottom of the nose, this yarn tail here, like this. And I want to bring it through the same stitch as the other yarn tail. And I'm gonna make 2 knots. I'm gonna cut the yarn tails and hide them with my scissors, like this. And then I'm just pushing the knots inside the head until we don't see them anymore. And there you go, you have your little snowman looking like this. And now we have one more step and one more part to make, and this would be the scarf. Okay, and now for the scarf, you're gonna need your colored yarn. So I'm just gonna use red for this snowman and your 4mm crochet hook. And we're gonna start by making a slip knot. So just like we did at the beginning, like so. And I want you to chain 43. So this is one chain, yarn over, pull through. This is 1, and I want you to make 43. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're gonna meet when you have your 43 chains. Okay, so I have my 43 chains, just like this. And now to make the scarf, what you're gonna do is that you're gonna crochet half double crochet stitches across, so 1 in each chain. And I don't want you to pick the little loop here. I want you to turn your chain around, so you see the bumps at the back of the chains, and this is what I want you to use when you insert your crochet hook. So to make my first half double crochet stitch, I'm gonna go into the second bump from the hook. So if I look closely, I have 1 bump right here, and this is my first chain, and I want to go into the second chain from the hook. So I'm going to yarn over to make my half double crochet stitch. I'm going to insert my hook into the back bump of the chain, like this, yarn under, pull through the chain, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. So this is 1 half double crochet stitch. I'm going to make 1 more. So I'm going to yarn over. I'm going to go into the next bump of my chains. Yarn under, pull through, yarn over, pull through all loops. So this is 2 half double crochet stitches. And by going and working into the back bumps of the chains, what you will have as a result is that you will have the V's at the bottom of the chain, and you will also have the V's at the top of the stitches here, so your scarf will look nicer than if you just used a little top loop here. So you're going to do that across, so just make 1 half double crochet stitch in each chain, and we're going to meet at the end of the scarf where you should have 42 half double crochet stitches in total. Okay, so I am at the end of the scarf and it looks like this, and I only have 1 chain left, so I just want to make sure that you're not skipping it. So you're going into the last bump here to make your last half double crochet stitch. To finish the scarf, I'm going to yarn over and pull through, so this is 1 chain, and I'm going to leave a short yarn tail and I'm going to cut it like this. Okay, so you have a knot here at the end. Okay, and to finish up this little scarf, I'm gonna use a little bit of a red yarn, and I'm gonna cut 1, 2, and 3 strands of red yarn. You're gonna see what I'm gonna do with it. So I'm cutting about, so it's gonna be folded in half. I would say that this is 10 centimeters, so I want to make a 3 like this. So that's 1, 2, and 3. I'm gonna cut this here like this. So I have my 3 strands of yarn. I'm gonna use my crochet hook, and I'm gonna place 1 on the side that I have my 2 yarn tails. So I'm just gonna insert my hook into the last half double crochet stitch here at the end of the scarf. I'm gonna fold this strand of yarn in half. I'm gonna place it on my hook. I'm gonna pull through, and then I'm gonna yarn over with both yarn tails and pull through the loop. Just to attach it to the scarf, I'm gonna pull like this. Okay, and now I'm gonna cut these yarn tails here, not so long, but you can decide the length of yours. Okay, and now I'm gonna do the other side of the scarf. I'm gonna use 1 strand of yarn, my crochet hook again. I'm gonna insert my crochet hook into the first half double crochet stitch here that we've made. Once again, I'm gonna fold the yarn tail or the yarn strand in half, place it on my hook, pull through, yarn over with both the yarn tails and pull through like this. And we're gonna do the same with the other strand of yarn. So I'm gonna insert my crochet hook, this time not into the first half double crochet stitch, but more into the skip chain that we made at the beginning, just like this. So this is the other end of my scarf, and once again I'm going to cut my yarn tails, and this is it for the scarf. And now to finish up that little snowman, we're just going to wrap the scarf around its neck like this, and I want to have both ends together, and I like to place the scarf on one side, and I'm just gonna use my bigger crochet hook that we use for the blanket yarn, and I'm gonna basically insert one part of the scarf between 2 stitches, so it looks like this. So I'm gonna insert my crochet hook between 2 stitches like this. I'm gonna grab the back part of the scarf and pull through like this. And there you go. You have your little snowman all done with its scarf. So I hope you enjoy making this little snowman with me. Make sure to share your makes with me on Instagram. The link is in the description. And give this video a like, and make sure to subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. See you, bye!